Okay, so this is strength day A. Your first work set that you're going to be opening with is going to be a squat, push, deadlift, ladder. It's 15 minutes on the timer. What's going to happen is each exercise, they will start with 2 reps, and then they're going to increase by 2 reps, right? So first time through, they're going to go 2 of each, then they'll go 4 of each. Wherever they get to at the halfway point, so 7.5 minutes, if they're at 10 reps across all 3 exercises, they're then gonna work their way down for the second half of that 15 minutes, okay? So starting with that goblet squat, you're going to use a 2-hand clean to bring the bell into that goblet position. So sorry. So we have our standard 2-hand clean from the floor, right? Where feet are gonna stand directly over top of the bell, even with the laces. We're then hinging those hips, much like if we were setting up for a deadlift, pulling those shoulders down the spine. Big inhale, exhale as they snap up. They're again going to find that squat stance, so that could be slightly wider than hips, that could be toes turned slightly out, or a more neutral. That's going to depend on their anatomy. But what I do like to have people do is feel like they're kind of corkscrewing their feet outwards. So as you can see, my feet aren't physically moving, but I'm engaging my glutes like I'm trying to create outward tension on my feet, okay? Big inhale to fill the belly, find that nice strong brace. Holding that breath through the bottom, exhale as they come tall. Big inhale at the top, hold again through the bottom, exhale as they come tall, taking it back down to the floor with control. Making sure that when they're in that goblet hold, they're not letting those elbows come out, they're not holding the goblet way up, it's right in front of their chest. If somebody wants to use a heavier bell for their squat and it's too heavy for a dead clean, you can do a 2-hand swing into a goblet, okay? So that's something they can use if they want to use a heavier bell for their squat, but the dead clean is not going to give them enough drive to get that bell into that right height for the goblet hold. So once they've done their goblet squat, they're going to go into a single arm floor press. So that's the push portion of our ladder. I want everyone to be doing this in a safe fashion. So you're going to be using that fetal position like you would for the start of your TGU, okay? So starting on your side, opposite hand comes over top, rolling to the back, planting those feet to the ground so you're driving through the heels. What I want you to do here is pull that rib cage down so your back goes nice and flat. Elbow's gonna stay planted on the floor. You're gonna press up for that floor press. So it's an inhale as that bell comes down, exhale as you press up. If they're working a really heavy bell and they're trying to generate more tension, you can actually have them extend their opposite arm and pull that down to create more tension as they hit that press, okay? Bringing the bell safely to the side, haloing the bell around the head to switch sides, not carrying the bell over the chest. Last exercise is going to be that deadlift. So again, standing directly over top of that bell. Let's do this one from the side, right? Directly over top of that bell so the handle's even with the arch of the foot or with the laces of the shoes. I always like to have people find that brace at the top. So I'm finding that nice long spine, pulling that rib cage down so I'm engaged through my core. Hips are driving back into that hinge position, making sure we're not driving down too low. So hinging back, reaching for that bell, eyes are on the horizon, pack those shoulders down the spine. Big inhale to fill the belly, exhale as you stand tall, keeping that spine long throughout, finding that tall standing plank. Inhale back down, exhale, come back to the top. Okay, if somebody's having an issue finding the ground because it's a deadlift, so we want them to truly hit the ground each time. If they're having a hard time hitting the ground because of pain or they don't have the range of motion, you can bring that bell up onto a block. So essentially what that's doing is bringing the floor up to them. So now their range is less, but they can still find that nice strong hinge and still have the exact same mechanics of a deadlift. You're just taking the bottom part of that range out for them, okay? Our second work set for day A is going to be a coach's call EMOM. It's gonna be 9 minutes long. We have 3 exercises, so you'll go 3 rounds. The coach's call portion for this is you're gonna decide which of the lunge variations they do on which minute, and you're also going to decide what kind of weight hold they're doing for each. So you could change the weight hold for each round. So your exercises here are gonna be an alternating forward lunge. So maybe you have people who wanna go body weight if they need a modification, or you could transition some of these into a weighted march for somebody who's not able to do a lunge because of knee pain, right? So your movements here are gonna be an alternating forward lunge, making sure that they're driving from that front heel to go back from that forward lunge position. An alternating reverse lunge, making sure they're keeping that front leg loaded as they do that reverse lunge. You also have a lateral, right? So in that lateral lunge, you wanna make sure that they're using the hip. They're not staying too high because that's gonna put more load through the knee. So making sure they're driving that hip back in that lateral lunge. An alternate for the lateral lunge is gonna be that warrior lunge. We are gonna need a weight for that one because as we know from the previous cycle when we were using warrior lunge, you're going to push that belt overhead as you go into that lunge position, okay? So any of those exercises on the minute. For your holds, right? We have the goblet hold with a single. So all those exercises, right? You can go your forward lunge with a goblet. You can go your reverse lunge. You can do that lateral. Okay? You can also do racked. So you could go single arm and you could go working side, or you can go offset load. Okay, for that warrior lunge, you're gonna press up as you lunge. Okay, if you wanna get really spicy with some of the people in your class, you can go double bell, or you could go an offset double bell. So got a 16 here, that would be a 16 and a 14, right? So 2 different sized bells if you want something in that progression. Okay, work set 3. We're gonna have a 6-minute AMRAP for the finishing portion of day A. So your 3 exercises here, we're gonna have a concentric only push-up. So that means that you're on the floor pushing up. So concentric is as that muscle is shortening. Eccentric is as it's lengthening. So we're just doing the push up from the floor for the push-up. Then we'll also have a tall kneel 2-arm dumbbell curl, as well as a leg lift, okay? So for that concentric push-up, let me drop this down a little bit. What you're gonna do here is you're gonna have them safely get to the floor. They're gonna be in this position on the ground with their hands directly under their shoulders. You're gonna tuck their toes, right? So they can generate that force to find the push-up. You're gonna have them squeeze their glutes, brace their abdominals against the floor. Big inhale, so now we're finding that big strong brace. Drive back to the top. And kind of lower it back down by coming onto their knees so that they're not doing an active lower, right? They're not doing that first portion of the push-up. We're just doing the second part. Coming back to the ground, hands are under the shoulders, tucking those toes, brace into the floor, big inhale, push back up to the top. Okay, so if somebody needs to elevate this onto a box, that's a great way to give them an alternative or a modification for this exercise. So what they would do is the same thing where they kind of set themselves with their chest on the box, squeezing the glutes, bracing, big inhale, exhale, drive to the top, okay? Kind of find that controlled way back. Big inhale, nice strong brace, exhale to the top, okay? So it might feel a little funky at first, but it's really gonna help work on their power and their drive in that push-up, okay? So we have our concentric push-up, and then we have our tall kneel 2-arm curl. So for that tall kneel curl, you're gonna tuck those toes so they can really squeeze the glutes, stay nice and stacked from the side, and you're gonna curl like this. You wanna make sure that as they curl, they're not leaning back, they're not losing that brace, right? So everything stays nice and stacked. Nice strong curl here. If you have enough dumbbells and you have a lower number of people in class, you can split it and give them a pair of dumbbells. If they're going pair of dumbbells, just be more aware that they're not leaning backwards, because now we have more degrees of freedom. They might have one dumbbell that's coming up a little faster than the other. So just try and make sure they stay equal side to side and they're keeping the core and the hips connected, okay? Last piece here is going to be a leg lift. So this one, I'm gonna give a lot of different options here, because laying flat on your back, raising both legs to 90 is a very challenging movement. So it's more likely you're gonna have issues in your low back if you're not bracing appropriately. So if they're able to, you're gonna have them lay flat, find that hollow, try and bring both up. So you can see it's also really hard for me to try and keep that back flat while lifting both legs. So what I recommend you do is have them close to a wall or bracing on an arm of the Queen-X. So you're gonna brace on the wall, find that brace, lift up. So I'm providing a little bit more stability through my spine by bracing overhead. The other option you can use here, which will still give them that good core control, is you can have them start at the top, bracing through the leg, lower down, and then lift back up. Okay, making sure that back stays flat throughout, making sure that they're hitting both sides equally, okay? With this one, if their legs are straight, you wanna make sure they're keeping those knees straight the entire time. Don't let them cheat out of it. If they need to go short lever, right, you could go short lever here, turn it into a dead bug as needed, okay? So that's day A. If you have any questions, just let us know.